Hey guys, it's Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Welcome in, guys, everybody. And yeah, so today is Wednesday, and I totally thought it was Thursday today. So I'm a little bit unprepared today because I don't know. I woke up and I was like, oh, it's Thursday. And so I called a contractor that I have to have come and take down a tree. And I was like, this weekend there's supposed to be storms. Any way we can get this tree done this week? Probably not, but maybe. And they're like, no problem, we can do it tomorrow. So I was like, taking down the tree on a Friday. Oh. But then I realized that it was Wednesday and tomorrow is Thursday. So it all works out because I have a break day tomorrow, and so I'll be available for them to talk to and be a contact for. So, needless to say, yeah, I'm a little less than prepared, but that's all right. I think the only thing that is iffy is that I am not sure if I'm going to have enough propane for the whole time because I forgot to grab a new can. So I've got the dregs of a couple, and hopefully we'll get through it. Okay, so Monday's stream, we completed the neck on our set of tongs for our bolt tongs. These are going to be a set of universal tongs to replace this set right here. This is my previous set of universal bolt tongs, and there's these nice V-grooves here that make it easy to pick up any piece of steel with corners. Like the last several sets of tongs that I've had have been sized specifically for different pieces of stock. And so I need another set of tongs that can pick up any size stock. So this is it. We are going to continue by working on the neck of the second side of tongs. So if you look at these two, we've got a little ways to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to squish this center section and kind of create the jaw section and the boss section, which is what you call the place where you put the rivet and the hole for the hinge of the tongs. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do our very best to make sure that it gets done in a good, timely fashion and with the amount of propane that we have today. Okay, so first things first, it's time to start the forge. Oh, but we got an ad going right now, so maybe we'll wait a little bit to start the forge. If I do this, I still haven't found the wedge to this hand or the hammer handle. I don't know what happened to it. Let's see. So today I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. Well, I mean, it's really nice outside, but I'm a little bit worn down and I'm not entirely sure why. So I'm going to do my best, but I may end up having to sit down for a little bit. And hopefully it'll be all right. Let's see. So yeah, looks like we've got an ad. But yeah, welcome in, guys. I'm so happy to be here today. Like I said, today was kind of like a meh sort of day. And so I told myself that if I can just get out to the smithy and start streaming, the day will get better, because it always does. Every single time I come out here, my day just gets exponentially better talking to you guys. So I am so glad to be out here. I made it a point to make sure that I got out here today. And yeah. Hey, Vossen. I get the ad as soon as I talk. Okay, ad over. That's great. Well, I am glad that the ad is over for you. Yeah. So I'm really excited to be out here today. I'm having a little bit of a breathing episode today. So I may end up having to sit down for a little while. And if that's the case, then I will switch from watching my chat on the laptop to watching it on my phone, so that I can take a seat. And yeah, I'm kind of breathing heavy today for whatever reason. It never really I can never really figure out why I get bad breathing days. It's just, it comes with the, having been sick for so long. So since the ad's over, we're going to start by starting up the forge. All right, and hopefully we have enough propane for today. All right. Okie doke. This weekend, I'm going to organize the shop a little bit better. It's good to take a break. Propane. All right, headphones so I can actually hear myself think. All righty. Yeah, I thought about taking a break today, but I just have been having such a meh sort of day. I had a few other things that happened today that were not so great. And like I said, and it was probably going during the ad, but I come out here to the shop and my day gets just exponentially better talking to you guys and discussing blacksmithing, answering questions, and just socializing with all of you. So I get to this point where I will do anything to get out here just because I just have such a great time. I don't want to miss our time together. So hopefully, the day starts to get better. And it should. Like I said, I enjoy talking to all of you. I also have a lovely time every time I'm here. That's awesome. I'm so glad. Propane is always better than contrapane. Exactly, man. So, like I said, I'm a little bit low on propane today. I totally thought that it was Thursday and I had another day to get propane. So I have the last dregs of a couple different canisters. There should still be plenty in there. I got that one a little bit later. So this should be day 3 on this propane tank, and usually I can get 3 days out of them. So almost certainly I can get through the stream. I just need to get some more propane before Friday. All right. So, yeah. So yesterday I had a guy come to give me an estimate on how much it would cost to take down a tree in the backyard, because last Friday we had that big storm, and one of our trees split in half, and half of it fell inside of our yard and the other half is kind of overhanging the neighbor's fence. So I called them up, and I've been trying to get a hold of somebody who could take down the tree. Well, they finally came yesterday to take a look at it, and they're going to take it down tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited about that because it's supposed to storm again this weekend, and I was afraid when I saw the weather forecast that it would finally finish falling down over top of the neighbor's fence. And I really didn't want to have to make a homeowner's insurance claim on the neighbor's fence because of my stupid tree. So hopefully they get it all taken care of tomorrow. So that's what I've been dealing with today and yesterday, and then a little bit more. I've been trying to get a hold of some music for some of the YouTube videos, and in the past I've kind of written some music, and I've been a little bit, I don't know, anxious because I'm not in that mental space to be able to write music anymore. So it was just not an amazingly good day today. On the other hand, I'm a contrapane. I don't know about that. I like you, Sandwich. So yeah, I was a little bit discouraged by that, and I kind of felt like I didn't actually get much work in today, but it's all right because I'm out here in the shop, and this is not just work, but it's fun. I like talking to you guys. So, I don't know why I'm playing with this guy, but yeah, we're gonna use this today to kind of compare the one that's in the forge with this guy, so we can get 2 identical pieces or halves of the tongs. So what we've got here is a pretty decent shape. I'm pretty happy with that. So I think on Friday's stream, what we're going to actually do is kind of squish in this boss. Right now, it's really thick. It's very. If we were to chop it off right here, it'd be a nice square. And I think that's a little bit too much material for the rivet to go through. I have to go through two, so I'm gonna half this. So squish it in half. And then I think we're actually gonna drill these rivet holes this time. The last time we did a set of tongs, we used the punch. And I think this time I'm gonna use a drill to kind of give us the full power tool experience. We've been forming this with the shop press. And so, like I said, I think we're gonna do all power tools, and we're going to drill out these holes. Then we'll hand make that rivet and put them all together. So hopefully, by cutting out the two punched holes, we'll be able to finish this on Friday and then move on to our next project on Monday. And for our next project, the one I have in mind is kind of starting a sign to go up here on the wall, one that says Raise Smithy. So I'm gonna cut out the raise part, and that's gonna be like a light. And then we're going to do each of the letters in Smithy, we're gonna do them all as different projects with different blacksmithing techniques. So I'm thinking maybe the S is like a scroll, and then the M is maybe like an upset corner. That would be a fun thing to do. You like pain, I don't. I don't know. It depends, you know. I guess I don't like pain. It's just stuff you know. Sometimes you just gotta live with pain. So yeah, so I've got like a kind of a technique I'd like to do for each of the letters in Smithy, and then we're gonna hang it on our project wall as the beginning of it. And then this weekend we're gonna kind of clean up the rest of the shop area, and so it should be a good weekend. Bluesy, welcome in. Welcome in. I'm glad to see you have arrived. Pain just shows you're still alive, right? Exactly. I'd rather be in pain than not around. I kind of feel like some pain is a part of life, especially as I get older. And I know, I'm still really, really young to be saying things like that. All right. So, like I said, today we are going to continue working on the press, and we're going to be starting on the neck of our second half of the tongs. And looks like we need a little bit more time to heat the metal up initially. I prefer being informed about my own existence in some other form. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, you do have painkillers for a reason. The stuff in my pockets is acting funny, or it's like falling funny in my pockets. It's funny. So yeah, I don't know. There's something to be said about tolerating pain, but then there's something to be said about taking it away. So you're right. I should prefer taking the pain away as opposed to, you know, accentuating it as a part of life. All right. So I think I'm gonna start our first heat real fast. So let's see. I gotta turn this guy upside down. Here we go. The air release on my air compressor, it makes it very difficult to turn it on when I have material in my hand. Alright. So let's start with that much material. And we're going to come over here to this guy. And I'm going to kind of take a look at between them and see, you know, if I've got enough material. So it looks like they're relatively comparable. Maybe a little bit less of, or on the jaws of this side. So we will focus a little bit further back. But overall, I think they'll end up pretty similarly. So we're going to turn this 90 degrees and put it back in the fire. I'm always in pain. Been in constant pain since '98. I've had the meds and the pain taken away, but you end up being a zombie. So I decided no more. And now I choose to be stronger than the pain, to rule the pain and not be ruled with the pain. I am not saying it is the best part of life, but life is pain. Yeah, it's probably not the best part of life, but not exactly the best one. Yeah, pain is a part of, or can be a part of life. And I mean, not everybody is able to be completely strong about it, and that's respectable too. But I mean, you know, I'm glad that you're able to tolerate the pain enough and manage it. When you get older, it is life. Yeah. Sometimes. All right, so I need to turn this guy because right now it is upside down. So the air release over here on my air compressor is making it a little bit more difficult for me to, let's see, because it's upside down. All right, I think I'm just gonna have to live with it. Live with it upside down. I'll get used to it over some time. My internet ran out. I'm back. Well, welcome back, Vossen. Your internet ran out. Does that mean your internet service is like, do you buy by the gig? I know in several different countries you buy internet by the gigabyte. And then when you run out of gigabytes of like download and upload speed, it just turns off and then you have to purchase more. Is that the sort of thing that you're on? Well, I do not manage it. I'm just in pain, cut or curse and then get on with it. I mean, that makes some sense. Yeah. I have some back pain normally, and a lot of times I just don't feel it anymore because I've gotten so used to having it. But it does there is always a point where I just can't stand it anymore, and I have to go and like find ibuprofen or, you know, some other like minor, you know, like Advil or, you know, acetaminophen or something, you know. Nothing harder than over the counter, but you know. I have unlimited mobile, but I have to click add 2 byte free after I use 21 gigabytes. It's so stupid. I think only this provider does it. That's a little bit weird. Having unlimited free, but you have to like do something in order to add more. That's really weird. I wonder if it's like because they want to, you know, monitor how much extra that you're given, or you know, some other type of thing. That could be. And I tether my mobile to my PC for internet. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So my partner has company, or like my partner's company gives their employees phones. Because it is the news station, I mean, they have to make sure that you have a phone that is easily connectable. So it's easier for them to kind of give the employees phones so they can make sure that, you know, the network is stable and everything. And if there's ever a problem, it's on them and not the employee. Anyway, so there are several employees that will actually use their company phone to tether to their personal internet. So, I mean, it can be a bonus, a good bonus. Cable is an additional €47 a month. I guess you have to go to some website where they can show ads. Ridiculous pricing. Runs in with total abandon and embraces the goat farmer without fear. Not even that. I think that's what Ray said. Yeah. Welcome in, Dan. I'm glad you could make it today. It's just been one of those days. So yeah, I have unlimited internet on my cable, or like a cable modem. So the cable company, like runs our internet, and it also runs our phones. So, or like our personal phones. My partner has two phones, his work phone and then the phone that we have together collectively, or, you know, our family plan or whatever. So it's been a little bit wonky in the last couple weeks since that, or in the last week since that storm that we had such bad issues with. But it's getting a little bit better. I think they're starting to fix it. So less of the, you know, weak internet service. So I hope that the VOD doesn't, like, you know, end and start up again like it had been. But overall, it's pretty decent internet. But yeah, it's unlimited. So like, we downloaded a new video game this month. Since there are two of us and we play games together, so we downloaded World of Warcraft. So that was 200 gigabytes of downloaded data, which would be quite a lot if we had to pay for specific amounts of gigabytes of data. So, and then I downloaded all of my VODs, and so I just end up downloading so much internet that it just doesn't make sense not to have a unlimited plan. Can you show us some of your cool hammers? I've been eyeing them since you changed the setup. Over here, wired is basically unlimited, but mobile is mostly limited. That makes sense. Yeah, I can totally show you some of my hammers. So this guy is a rubber mallet. This head is rubber and it's black, and you know, this is one that I got at like a box store. This one I use, you know, I have it on my hammer rack because it is technically a hammer, but I don't actually use it for hot material. This is only for cold material. Sometimes when I'm using flat sheet, I'll allow it to cool down and I'll need to kind of move it a little bit, and I'll use this hammer. This is my rawhide mallet. This is made of rawhide, very similar to like dog bones. And this is what I use for moving hot metal without marring it. So if I use my regular hammer on a piece of material that's hot, you know, it leaves a mark, right? Well, this guy doesn't leave a mark. It smells kind of nasty, like burning hair and fingernails, but it'll move the metal. Like if I want to unbend a piece of steel, I can do that with this guy without leaving hammer marks. So this guy is my dead blow hammer. It's plastic, and on the inside there is like metal shot. So there you can hear it when I shake it. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but yeah, there's like like metal shot inside of here, or sand or something. And this is so that I don't get any bounce back. This is rubber coated, so I only use this guy on cold metal. This is my, I think this is 3.5 pound forging hammer. This is one out of, or from Harbor Freight. It's a really cheapo one, but I mean, it was really easy to get a hold of. So I keep it because, or as an example of, you know, starting stuff. This is a 3 pound sledge, like mini sledge. And it's just got two nice round heads on it. I've kind of dressed those a little bit in the past. It's kind of rusty now because I haven't redressed it since I got back into the shop. This is a drift punch. So basically, what this is if I was trying to punch a hole and I didn't want to use the punches that we normally use, what I could do is I could like stick this on here, and then I would hammer the end of it, right? So that keeps my hand out of the way. But this guy's a really big one. You can kind of see where it's mushroomed, where it's been used a lot. I got this one already like this at an antique store. It was my intention to hammer back all of this mushrooming and put it back into use, but I have not done that yet. This is my cross peen collection. I have 4 cross peens. This one I need to tighten up the head on. This is my 3 pound one. This one is about 1.5 pounds. And this one's probably about 8 ounces. This one's more like of a jewelry or riveting hammer. These guys are really nice. I like them a lot. This is a ball peen hammer. This is the one that I use for all of my cold hits. So if I were actually using a punch, or if I were actually using this guy, this is what I would hit it with. And then I also have a smaller cross peen hammer. It's just over here. And then my last hammer that's over here is a car body hammer. This guy has a fiberglass handle. I use this when I am doing sheet metal. So this is like for chasing and repose, which are 2 silversmithing techniques. This is a flat head, so I can take out any hammer or like errant hammer marks in a bowl or a pan or anything, or like a vessel. Anything like that. I did not know there were punches with hammer or with handles. Yeah, they're a lot safer than the regular punches, but they're harder to find. You can make them, and eventually I would like to make some because I'm tired of hitting my hand every time I want to drift a hole. So yeah, the ball peen is my favorite. I have one too. I have many hammers myself, but one I use the most is either my 15 or 22 pound mallet. Ooh, that is a big hammer. 22 pounds? Geez. What is chasing? Okay, so how do I explain it? Let's see. Okay, so this is a sheet of copper, and you can kind of tell a little bit on this side. But basically, if I were to take this flat disc and turn it into a bowl shape, I could do this by using a similar shape to the horn of the anvil. So basically, I'd stick it on the end, and I'd use a hammer to kind of hammer down over the air. And it would start pushing the metal up and around into a bowl shape. And that is called chasing. And repose is when you take, like, if you're making armor and you're making all of the decorations. So you know how with the Roman armor, they have like the muscles that they'll like decorate the breastplates with. Or the technique that is used to create those muscles is called reposer. It is, I believe it's a French word, but don't quote me on that because it could also be Italian. Um, oh, those are fantastic. You can create bowls with those car body hammers. You can, and that's why I bought them, to create bowls with them. Very nice collection. Thank you so much. I work on tractors. You need bigger tools. Exactly, you really do. Um, it's probably Trailbien in German, at least. I heard something like that in this context. I'm like I said, I'm hopelessly, American, and so my first language is English, and I'm really really bad with foreign words and pronunciation. So I apologize, and I'm probably pronouncing Rukwaze and incorrectly, but you can look it up on the internet. Uh, Google will probably correct you. Let me see if I can't look it up. See if Google will translate it for me. Nope. I'm not even spelling it right. That's probably why. Ha! There it is. Let's see if I can. Okay, here we go. It is spelled Repoussse with an accent on that E, but I don't have the ASCII code for the accent over the E. But if you look up repose, it will, like Google will define it for you, and then you can also look at all of the images of artists that do chasing and repose. It is absolutely gorgeous work. Gorgeous work. I definitely recommend taking a look. Okay, I'm gonna do another heat real fast, and then we'll keep on keeping on. The French probably pronounces it like that, or like repousse. Maybe, I don't know. I would be so confused, or I am so confused by how it's pronounced. I know how my teacher pronounced it, and that's about it. So we've turned the sky 90 degrees, and we are switching on the opposite side, or the other side. We're really starting to establish the jaws of these tongs and the boss on the back side. I love talking to you guys when I am at the press because I can't hear what I'm saying, but you guys can. The microphone does a really great job of like getting rid of a lot of the noise that happens in the shop. But I can still hear it through the sound canceling headphones a little bit. So I'm really glad that we've gotten our sound all taken care of. So yeah, I used to do a lot of chasing in repose, and we will definitely do a little bit of that at some time in the future on this stream. But it won't happen until I can get my cold shop all nice and organized. Because it's a lot easier for me to work in the cold shop on chasing in repose because I just have a little bit better setup there. mostly because when or as you are using the hammers, um, on the copper, what happens is that as the molecules start moving around, the material will harden, and you need to soften up the material so you can continue forming it. So basically, what you do is you will take like a plumber's torch or a propane and oxygen torch, like a jeweler's torch, and you'll actually anneal this. And annealing is the process where you raise the temperature of the material to a specific point, and then you quench it off, and it will realign all of the crystalline structure within the material and soften it up so you can continue working. And my jeweler's torch setup is in the cold shop. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive because it's the cold shop, but it just works a little bit better. There's my soldering setups in there too. New room, who dis? Welcome in, Mound of Meat. Yes, I did. I rearranged. The heat allows the dislocations to travel between the crystals. I aced mechanics of materials. Yes, exactly. So it's similar in process to normalization that is used in or with steel. But basically, yeah, you're reorganizing the crystalline structure of the material to make it softer and more movable. Um, because when you are chasing, you're not actually thinning the material, you're just repositioning it. Um, so yeah, it's very, very interesting. I love the science behind it. Um, or you can actually, if you're using the correct technique for bowl raising, you can actually increase the thickness of the base of your vessel forms. And that I find so interesting. So you're kind of collecting the material in the back and moving it all forward towards the edges. So the edges end up getting a little bit thinner. So you have to go back with a cross-peen hammer and hammer directly, or I mean, I guess perpendicularly off of the edge to kind of re-thicken that material. So it's another whole process, another whole type of skill, and we'll definitely do some of that in the future. You meant to say material science, exactly. Yeah, I understood. Repoussé is translated repusher. Oh, the accent is on the second E, so repoussé, that is repasse. Yeah, yeah, that's about as good as I can, as I can attempt to pronounce it. But yeah. And chasing, or like the act of chasing, is kind of when you are raising a bowl. That's what it's called when you are taking a flat disc and turning it into a bowl shape. So like a teapot, or whatever you're making, a cup, or just a fruit bowl or whatever. So you come back, or as you are raising it, you get errant hammer marks, and when you chase it, what you're doing is you're chasing away your hammer marks and smoothing out the surface. Very close, exactly. Sounds like a disingenuous threat. I will reorganize your inner structure. Exactly. It does sound like a threat. I will reorganize your molecular structure. Although it's more crystalline structure, because you're not really breaking down the bonds of the molecules necessarily. You're just kind of reorienting them. Ouch. Or an insult. It kind of almost seems like an insult. Like maybe you need to rearrange your insides. All right. Let's do another heat real fast. And so this time we are going to focus on the high section. We've got several areas from our first heat that are a bit raised, and we're going to try and push those down so we can make sure that everything is nice and growing evenly. Because we're being really, really precise about exactly what we are squishing, our heats are really, really fast. A bunch of French. Translated that as well, if we can teach you the French language. See, now we're all cultured. Exactly. Then si vos voulez en put vos en... Yeah, in the French language. I think I'll leave it at that. Oh, goodness. Like I said, I'm having a little bit of a breathing episode today. So basically, when I got sick 5 years ago, my lungs, a lot of damage happened to my lungs. So I just get these days every once in a while. Usually it's when like the weather is really changing, or there's like, we've got bad air quality. I just get these days where I just can't seem to fill my lungs or get all of the oxygen from the air that I breathe. So I'm gonna have to be, I'm a little less peppy than normal today, so I apologize for that. Bet you didn't expect language lessons when you tuned in today. Well, I can manage in a few languages. It's not that I'm smart, just experienced. Yeah. And I mean, languages, the more you learn, I feel like both the easier it is to learn them and the more confusing it becomes. Because like when you start learning all of the different Romance languages, it's like, you know, you got your English, your French, your Portuguese, your Spanish. They all have like similarities within the language. So I know a lot of people who are like polyglots, and they start mixing the languages in their head and they get confused. It's easier to learn, but it's also more confusing. So I respect anybody who can, you know, speak multiple languages. I sure wish I could. But when my friend, the goat farmer, is in the house, your life will be changed. Yep. English is not a Romance language, technically. It's a Germanic language. English is Germanic. Oh, I guess you're right. You are right. It is definitely a Germanic language, because wasn't it like most of it comes from the Saxon and Anglican origins, which is kind of Gaelic and Germanic. But when I was learning Spanish, I guess a lot of my teachers would tell me that English is a romantic language or a Romance language. And I'm just, you know, I am learning that, you know, not everything that my teachers taught me was correct or necessarily correct all the way, I guess. So yeah, we do steal a lot. Old English is identical to Frisian. Spanish is a Romance language. It has adopted quite a few Latin words, which is why I believe that a lot of people think that English is a Romance language. But I really feel like English is just the language that steals from every other language. Because I mean, we use French words, Italian words, German words. We use all sorts of words from different languages. If you have something that we need to label, and you already have a label, we will Englishize your label and then tell you that you're wrong. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we're the wrong ones. We do like to steal a lot. Based on Latin. I know sandwich, but hey, you are Dutch words, many of them. All languages steal from each other. They really do. You use French words because the Normans took over England and their court was French. That makes sense. But yeah, languages like to steal from each other. So, I mean, it is very interesting. My sister studies etymology. She was a linguistics major in college, so it's always really interesting to listen to her talk about different languages and like how they're constructed. And it's like one of those things where I never thought that someone would be so passionate about dissecting sentences, but she loves it. She finds it so entertaining and interesting. And the Dutch use French words because we got taken over by Napoleon for a bit and enforced a lot of stuff. Dutch stole from Germany. Actually, they're just developed differently during some centuries. Dan says that's me, but I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. Oh, you know what? I really need to do this. So that I can pay attention to what's going on as far as like the ads and stuff. Oh, you're a language nerd. Yeah. My sister's a language nerd too. So I kind of like, my sister lived with me when she was in college, so I've kind of osmosised a little bit, but not enough to like really understand what I'm talking, just enough to be dangerous to myself. You know? Like my partner knows enough about metalworking to be dangerous to himself. You know, he understands what I'm talking about when I talk about welding and all of the different processes and stuff. But if you actually gave him a welder or asked him to make anything in the shop, he'd probably injure himself. That's me with like, you know, with etymology and linguistics. Okay, let's take another heat. There we go. So I had my partner come out the other day, yesterday, and stand here while I was using the press because the floor vibrates a little bit. And I was a little bit concerned. He's like, Ray, you are crazy. That's not vibrating enough to be dangerous. And I was like, oh, okay. So we shall see. as I fall over. Sandwich, technically both Dutch and German are descendants of the same language, Dietz. I am a stupid farmer. I know nothing remember that. We farmers make the world run, Bluesy. You really do. I don't know where we would be without farmers. It is probably easier to receive injuries from a hammer or a welder than a language. That's also true. The world will run without us until they have no more food. I hurt my brain once thinking about Suomi. Suomi, what language is that? I recognize it as a language. Finnish. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Although, for whatever reason, I think when I looked at the word, I thought it was maybe an Eastern language. But no. You can actually read it. So yeah, languages are so fun to talk about. But I'm really glad that we have languages, because if we didn't have languages, it'd be a lot harder to communicate. Even with multiple different languages, it's a lot easier to communicate with people than not having language at all. So, you know, I'm grateful. But that's probably like a nonsense transition, so I apologize for that. So it is really, really nice outside today. So there's a lot of people walking. And so I can kind of see them walking past the garage door. It's a little bit distracting. Not too bad, though. Actually, Finnish is closely related to Hungarian, I think. Ugothic in origin, not Scandinavian. Interesting. You guys are really smart. That's what I got to say about that. You guys are really smart. But that's all right, because, you know, that's why we create community. The more people that we add to our community, the more intelligence we have added to the collective. It's like Borgs, except not, because we assimilate all of the knowledge that everyone has, but we don't, like, you know, we allow individualism. Individualism is great. Hungarian is weird. Usually, if the same script is used in a foreign language, you can at least guess some words. Hungarian uses Latin alphabet, but it's just gibberish in German. That would be weird. So what you're saying is that Hungarian uses words that you can read in other languages, but they don't translate to the same word. That's interesting. At least that's my understanding of what you mentioned. So that would be like if I said whatever word in English and it translated to something completely different in another language. So I feel like the only comparison I could have with that is in English, there's so many idioms that mean absolutely nothing to people who don't have the cultural experience or the language to fall back on. So there's this meme that has been floating around the internet where the difference between a butt dial and a booty call, the words are synonyms for each other, but the meaning of those two words together is completely and totally different. Nope, they write words that are not words. Oh, okay. Just not words. Okay, that makes more sense. Suomi and the people of Finland are not Scandinavian, though people seem to think they are from a different people group. Huh. Interesting. But at this point, I think you guys are like way above my head on my understanding of what you're talking about. I'm glad that you guys can talk together, though. All right, we're gonna do another heat. And we're gonna turn another 90 degrees and continue smashing this piece down, creating that net. Looks like we're getting a significant amount of curvature going on, so we are probably going to take a little bit of time to kind of try and straighten that out. I think I might try using the flat dies for our next heat just so that I can flatten that out a bit. Let's see if maybe if I can't move them over this time. That's a little bit better. Flat dies to the rescue, okay. Still a little bit of curvature. So we'll come over here. Ooh, hammerhead's shaking. We'll put this back in the fire. I forgot the wedge on my hammerhead, or like the wedge on my handle's missing. I meant to find the wedge and put it back in here, but I lost it. So I guess we will be using this hammer today. No worries, I am one of those people with a weird brain. I know a little bit, about a lot, but not a lot about some things. Yeah. In the Asian language, I expect to understand anything because I cannot read the symbols. I also do not read Cyrillic. But usually, if the alphabet is Latin, you can guess some words, even if you do not speak the language. I don't speak Italian, Spanish, or Swedish, but I can get interrupted by the bot. But I can recognize the letters and their combination. Simply does not make any sense. I see, Ray. Make another one. Another wedge, that is. Yeah, I definitely will make another wedge for that hammer. I can just like hammer another one in there. I just have to find a good piece of steel to put in there. I had one. Obviously, there was originally one in there. I just don't know what happened to it. When I moved the shop around, that's when I lost it. So I don't know. I might actually, because I think originally it had a steel pin in there, or like a flat steel pin in there. But I might see if I can't. I should probably just put another steel one in there. I usually prefer to put wooden wedges in there. I think it is a lot easier to get it to stay with a wood wedge, and then you can stick a steel pin in there if it starts to loosen after that. The steel plugs inside of your hammers are a little less ideal, I think. This guy has like that round steel plug, and mostly because that's all I had at the time when I rehandled it, because that's what was in the original handle. But I prefer using wooden wedges. They just work a little bit better, I think. But I mean, if there's already the blank area for the steel, then I think I'm just going to make a little steel wedge or a steel pin to put in there. I think it'll make it a little bit, or it'll work with the already made hole, if that makes sense. Can probably make something out of a piece of scrap. something that'll work. So do I. They work with you, can occasionally just get a little wedge from a log. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I just think that they sit in there a little bit more snugly because they don't like, it's less likely that they're going to crack the wood around it. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece out and I'm gonna try and straighten it on the flat of the anvil. I'm not actually going to bring the anvil cam over here this time, but because we won't be over here for very long. But I hope it's all right for you guys. So you've got that nice, or it's not a nice curve. We don't want to see that curve, so we're gonna take it over to the flat. Hammer it a couple times and straighten it out. All right. Much more flat. So we'll put that back in the forge, let it heat up just a little bit further, and continue using the press. Soak your hammerhead down in BLO. The fibers will swell and then the head will snug up in the handle. And the good thing about a wooden wedge, you put your hammer in oil to keep them well oiled, and the wooden wedge will suck up all the wool or the oil like your wooden handle. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Or the wood soaking up the oil is a really nice. It works really well. Keeps the handles themselves from splitting too, because when the wood gets like super brittle, it'll start being, or I mean when it gets super dry, it gets super brittle. Is what I was trying to say. Weird that, exactly. All right, so it looks like we're going to start an ad here shortly. So once the ad is over, I will do another heat. That way everybody gets to see them. I really like to make sure that everybody can see the heats, because that's what everybody comes for. I guess we have similar experiences. Well, I guess a lot of people do have very similar experiences, especially when it comes to like tools and equipment, because I mean, when you're really into using tools and equipment because it's like really part of your lifestyle and your job, you do end up having a lot of similar experiences. I come for the tongs, life in pain. Welcome in. Yeah, because we're doing lots of tongs right now. I'm planning on doing 6 tong streams. So today we are on 5. So Friday will be our 6th stream. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to finish them then. So what I'm going to, I'm planning on, instead of doing a punched hole, we're going to do a drilled out hole, just to cut down a little bit of time, because I want to make sure that we finish on time. I come for the headphones. I do have very large headphones because I have really small ear canals. And the little the orange foamies, they don't fit in my ears. I have an entire box about yay big, or I guess it's a bin, a bucket. I don't know. It's about yay big and it has a screw off top and it is full of the orange foamies and I can't even put them in my ears. So the whole bucket is there for my partner and any guests that come to forge with me in my shop, because I can't get them to stay in my ears. Yeah, the little foamies, they suck. It's like, and they're really not rated for daily use. They're more for like temporary use. If you're doing a day or everyday, day in and day out hearing protection, it's actually better for your ears to have properly rated headphones. Um, so these guys aren't quite as good as they should be for day in, day out use. These are actually rated for like yard work, um, for like chainsaws and lawnmowers and that sort of thing. Really, for blacksmithing itself, the best hearing protection is actually shooting or headphones, um, because they just have they're rated for a higher decibel of sound dampening. So what I really need to do is I need to go and get a pair of gun muffs. No, I use shooting headphones on my tractors. Yeah, and they're so much better because they have such a higher decibel that they're rated for, and they'll save your ears really nicely. The reason I wear these all the time is because I can connect them via Bluetooth to my phone or to my laptop, and I can like listen to music while I am blacksmithing. But I don't really do that when I'm streaming, so I feel like it's kind of a little bit overkill now. Because I spend so much time talking to you guys, it would be very distracting for me to be listening to music that has lyrics anyway. Um, I could probably listen to like classical or something that doesn't have lyrics, but I have a tendency to get very distracted by musical lyrics. Yeah, I have the same in shooting headphones, Bluetooth. I have to wear ear protection in my tractor and ZTR. Hearing protection is so important. Um, I cannot express how much PPE is important to people, um, because once you damage your hearing, it just doesn't come back. Um, when I was doing a lot of bull raising when I was in college, I didn't understand that I needed hearing protection for whatever reason. And so, like, I actually lost a significant amount of my hearing from doing that. So eventually I got to the point where I realized it, and now I always wear headphones. I can still hear pretty decently, but occasionally, someone will have to repeat things for me, or you'll have to tap me on the shoulder. Um, and so, if you're just beginning, don't be dumb. Start with PPE. Also, eye protection, very, very important, especially when you're doing hot work, because all of that scale that comes off of your steel, it'll fly everywhere and it gets in your eyes. And if it's in your eyes, that is not a pleasant time. You'll have to go to the hospital and get them to remove it. Eye splinters are no fun. I am quite deaf in my right ear. Yes, safety squints engage. Eye protection, safety squints. Safety squints. No, I mean, you only have one set of eyes. And I mean, you do not want to get a splinter in your eye. You do not want to get a splinter in your eye. Also, you only got one set of lungs, and it's very expensive to buy another set. So, take care of the one you got. Then maybe you won't be in need of another set. All right. Another heat. Let's do another heat. Every time I think that I am done with the white foamy stuff that came in the box for the or for the throttle jet, another piece of foamy comes off of it. That's funny. Oh, come on. There we go. Back in the fire. In general, the supply of original spare parts is rather difficult. Exactly. I was in the Army, usually. I shot with ear protection. It happened once that there was no time for me to get in position and wear my ear protection, so I am quite deaf in my right ear. I mean, yeah, it doesn't take long to damage your hearing, and like it never comes back. So it's just, it's not pleasant, and you definitely don't want to end up with like tinnitus, because that's no fun either. My other PPE recommendation is make sure you get a good dust mask when you are doing any grinding or cutting of steel or even wood. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, the particles are just so big, it's fine, you don't need it. But I mean, when you're doing a lot of grinding, it'll get up in your nose and in your snot, and then that mucus, it goes in down the back of your throat and out your nose too. So in both directions, and it's not good. You definitely don't want to ingest that in either your stomach or your lungs. So make sure you get a good dust mask for cutting and grinding. I am, a very big proponent for breathing protection because I have very damaged lungs. So you don't wanna have trouble breathing. There is a large supply of spare parts in cemeteries. I mean, maybe the fresh ones. But I mean, even corpses have rights, at least in the United States. It's like if you don't want to donate your body parts, then they cannot take them from you. They will bury you with them or cremate you with them. So if you are from the United States, sign the back of your license, become an organ donor. They usually do not fit well, and there are downsides of used parts. Yeah. Having to take anti-rejection medication for the rest of your life. It's better to minorly inconvenience yourself a little bit in order to save, your lungs and your eyeballs and your hearing. At least I think so. Maybe one day we'll have good enough bionics that it won't be as important. But even then, I mean, I think I would rather my originals than bionics. I know that they're working on it, and they're also working on 3D printed organs, tissue, or 3D printed tissues. They're trying to be able to 3D print new organs. It's such an interesting science. In Belgium, everyone is an organ donor unless they have signed a paper stating they do not want their body parts to be used to save other humans. Yeah, here in the US, you have to opt in to organ donation, which I can respect that a bit. Bodily autonomy. Even if you are dead, you still have rights. So yeah. And we've got plenty of heat again, so I'm gonna do another big squish. Then we see 10 Twitch channels, Raise Clone 1, Raise Clone 2, Raise Clone 10. Maybe. Man, I have clones to do. I think I would totally have a set of clones just to clean my house. Uh-oh. The clamp that holds my die on has come off. I'll have to tighten that on. Just a second. Oh, this will be fun. All right. Yeah, well, I guess I gotta realign my dies. Turn that off real fast and I'll kind of show you how I change my dies. This system is kind of jank. Alright, so those are nice and aligned. Press that up, put that wedge in there. I used to have a wedge for this side too, but it didn't work quite as well as I wanted it to. So I came up with this clamp solution, and it was supposed to be a temporary solution, but I just got to the point where I never bothered to fix it. I think it's this direction is in. Maybe it's not. It looks like I'm loosening it. There we go. We're tight now. You guys probably can't see this too well. There we go. All right. Back in business. Your bodily autonomy ends when you die. It is no longer your body then, just a little. Make one that works better. Oh, those are the most permanent fixes, the temporary ones. Exactly. Temporary solutions live the longest, right? It's like, if it's working, then why mess with it? Because if I mess with it further, it's like, what if it doesn't work as well? So yeah, that's kind of how it's been. The design of the dies originally just didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to, so this works pretty well. Hi, Mahalo. Welcome in. I'm glad you made it today. Oh, goodness. Man, I am already starting to get tired. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm a little bit I'm having a little bit of a bad breathing day today, so. I think it's all of the working in the shop over the weekend that's starting to really catch up to me. Yeah, as a farmer, give me a pair of pliers and plenty of baling wire and I can fix anything. I mean, yeah, baling wire and duct tape and bubble gum. You could fix the world with that. You know, you got to get some bubble gum, you know, to fix holes and stuff. Yeah. I have so much baling wire just laying around in the shop just so that I can tie things up and all kinds of stuff. Baling wire in WD-40. If it moves, then it shouldn't. Baling wire, if it doesn't move, then WD-40. Exactly. Mahalo worked through lunch and now you're eating late. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes that happens. But you always need to eat. Make sure you eat. Eating is very important. Gotta have that energy so that you can keep on moving. Some people say that it's less important for some people than other people, and I would argue that eating is important for everyone. But it's also very important to eat the right things. During harvest lunch, no, or a quick bite here and there. I mean, that's fair too. I mean, I would argue that eating a energy bar or like, you know, a snack here and there occasionally is better than not eating anything at all, you know. You just need that energy to be able to get that work done and keep on moving. So it's better to eat something, even if it's just a little granola bar, than to eat nothing and skip a meal. All right. So I am going to come back over to the anvil again because since my die was moving, we got a lot more bending. So that's about all I needed to do at the anvil. And we get that weird curving going on with our material, and we got to make sure that we straighten that out as we go so that it doesn't start stretching and warping in ways that we don't want. If it starts growing on one side more than the other side, we could have a problem very easily. So always make sure that you straighten out your material as you are drawing it out. No, not energy bars. I'm old school. Bread, bacon, and maybe an egg. That is a lot better than an energy bar, you know, if you can get real food. Because I feel like a lot of those energy bars, they don't have the proper nutrition. I mean, they say they do on the wrapper, and a lot of the ones in the EU aren't using artificial chemicals and stuff, but it's still not as good as a properly balanced real meal. Yeah, hard-boiled egg and a chunk of fruit gotta be self-packaged. I mean, you can buy hard-boiled eggs in a package. At least in the US you can. There's also like pickled eggs and stuff. I think that you could get those in different places. There are ways that you can get real food, even when you're out on a tractor. Okay, I gotta go to sleep. Good night, Vossen. Thank you for joining us. Sleep well. We will see you later. I love that we are, you know, ASMR before people go to sleep. That makes me happy. Thank you for the lovely stream. Well, you're welcome. Thank you for joining. I've been having fun. And like I said, today has gotten exponentially better since I started streaming. It was a little bit, it had an iffy start, and now I'm a lot happier. And I feel like there's a little bit more pep in my step, even if I am tired. And that is you guys. I don't know why I always have to fight with the lid on that cup. I need to break down and get a better cup. But I keep forgetting to wash my other water bottles or my covered cups because I don't like having uncovered cups here in the shop because all of the dust in the air, it gets inside of my water, and then I don't want to drink it anymore because it's filthy. All right, now the heat. Maybe. Or I could just drop things. All right, here we go. Oh no! better. And back in the fire. My temporary fix isn't fixing. It definitely isn't. I need to make a more permanent solution. More temporary than intended, exactly. There we go. It clicked into place this time. It did not click into place last time. I have these little tabbies that kind of help guide it into place, and I did not click it into place. Hopefully it worked correctly this time and it won't fall out again. The water has a slightly metallic taste to it today. Wait, exactly. That's what happens when I have open water containers in the shop. That's why I don't do cans of anything or like open containers. I also try not to eat in here. But I mean, occasionally I got to eat in here too, you know, if I got a really big job that I just can't take a break with. So yeah. Man, the other day when I was cleaning out, or when we were cleaning out the shop, I used to have my grinder along this wall, like my bench grinder, and it's kind of attached to a stand. And I had my welding table was sitting right here, and so I had a peanut butter jar filled with water sitting on my welding table, and my partner goes, picks it up, looks at all of the sediment at the buildup at the bottom of the peanut butter jar, and goes, "You weren't drinking this, were you?" I looked at him, I was like, "No. Why do you think that?" He's like, "There's just a jar of water here. And I just thought maybe you were drinking it." And I was like, "No, I cover my drinking water. That I was using that to quench my steel." And he was just like, "Oh, I thought you were drinking it." And I was just, you know, I mean, I thought about drinking it, not like actively thinking about it, but it more like you reach for your actual drink and you accidentally grab your, you know, your quench water or your paint water, and you try and drink it, and you're like, "Oh wait, that's not the right one." So you put it down and you pick up the right one. That's kind of how it was for me. The plants might love it, yeah. Little extra iron in your diet. Iron and steel is one thing. If you work with lead, however, I do not work with lead. Lead has such a low melting point that if I put it in the forge, it just would not survive. And then I would have lead contamination in there. So we don't work with lead. We don't work with pewter in the forge. I try not to work with silver in there because it has such a low melting point that it'll contaminate the fire brick that I have in there. Got to be real careful what you put in the forge. So if you look at the really, really far back on my YouTube channel, you'll see a casting video where I cast the Assassin's Creed belt buckle. And I did that in pewter. I still have a whole bunch of pewter left from that project, but I have worked with pewter, but it's something that I don't do in the forge. Yeah. Well, we might do some casting at some point in the distant future. I think that I would be more inclined to do chasing a repose before I did casting, just because the setup is a little bit more simplistic. There could be a time where I might do some casting, but I think that it would be a lot more or a lot less formal than what we do here right now. The basic idea is lead is that you no longer need, or you do not need a forge, as far as I understand. Yeah, lead and pewter just need a hot pot. What is the word pewter? Pewter, yes. Pewter. The only thing I would use for it is a cup. Yeah, PEWTR is pewter. In modern times, pewter is made of a mix of tin and a couple other metals in an alloy. There used to be a lot of lead in pewter, but it's a silver colored metal that's relatively heavy, and then it also has a incredibly low melting point. Its melting point is 500 degrees. So this thing would boil it. That's why you wouldn't want to put it in the forge. Zen. Is that what you guys, or what it is? Is that what it translates to do in German? Zen? Yeah, it looks nice and it is heavy, but fairly strong. It really is. You can actually crack it. It is kind of on the brittle side, but you kind of have to slam it down. So if you drop it on the floor, you don't have to worry about it. But if you are like, going to drive over it or like slam it or hit it with a sledgehammer, it will crack or dent. Actually, tin is Zen, but pewter seems to translate to the same. Yeah, pewter is, there's a large amount of tin within pewter. That is the main metal in the alloy. It looks like we're about to start an ad, so after that ad, I'll do another heat. But I don't think that I will be able to complete the heat before the ad starts. So yeah, we're getting a pretty decent amount of work in though. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's see. So today I released the butter knife video. I did a condensed video of the butter knife project from the silverware that we did. So that is up for you guys to check out. I think it's a little bit higher quality than some of my previous videos. I'm starting to be able to apply some of the things that I've learned while I am editing my videos. So hopefully that's something that you guys are, are noticing. I'm slowly getting better. I think my videos are starting to get a little bit more watchable. I have a PM. Not from anybody that it actually matters. If it was from one of you, I would look at it, but it is from Twitch. They PM'd me about a new feature that's kind of weird. They have pop-up notifications in the creator dashboard. I don't know why they had to PM me. All right, it looks like the ad is starting to wrap up. We got about 30 seconds left on our timer. Because they can. I mean, exactly. I'm one of those people that absolutely hates seeing the little notifications. So if I've got like a little red dot on my dashboard, or a little white dot in my Discord, I have to like get rid of it. I cannot stand seeing the little red notifications of things that you haven't read. So even if I don't reply to something, I've read it. I just to get rid of the little notification, because I hate seeing it. It makes me like nervous. But I mean, that also means that I look at your stuff, and if I've got something to say about it, I reply relatively quickly, or at least I try to. I do have this nasty habit of looking at some of my notifications, reading them meaning to reply and then forgetting to do it because I get distracted with other stuff. So if I, if you PM'd me over Discord or Twitch and I don't immediately reply, PM me again. Just be like, hey, and then it will prompt me to read it again. All right. We're getting a decent amount of squishing. I'm pretty happy with what we're getting, or like as far as movement. I'm hoping that soon we'll get to the point where it's long enough that I can take it back to the face of the anvil without marring it, so that we can kind of straighten it out a little bit further and squish it down a little bit flatter. And my temporary solution is being stupid again. Alright. Oh, it helps when you hit the right button. The correct button. There we go. My capture card, and each of my cameras is on a different button. And a lot of times I will know that it's on, or the capture card is on one of them, or like camera 1 or camera 2, and it'll be on camera 2 and I'll press camera 2, thinking that I'm switching cameras, and what I'm just doing is hitting the same camera, so it doesn't do anything. So we're getting a decent amount of movement, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think that I will probably take it a little bit over to the horn of the anvil. So I think what I might actually do is bring the camera over. And then we'll work a little bit further with that, so we can kind of make sure that they're even, both of the necks, and with both length and width. And yeah, so we're gonna do that real fast. So I'm gonna turn this guy off and unplug him, and then we'll move over. And don't cross the streams. See if I can do this. Turn us back on. There we go. That'll work pretty well. And I think I'm actually going to record this. I haven't been recording most of today because I've got so much material for the next video, or for these tongs video, that I have so much that I don't really need anything new. But this time, I do need a little bit on the horn of the anvil. Are the new tongs going to look similar to the ones that you're currently using? Mahalo, technically tongs are tongs, but they are different types of tongs. Yeah, so we've made a few different sets of tongs with the same kind of style. And so the style that I'm kind of picking for, my style of tong is kind of this. This is the style of the tongs that I've been making recently. So if you can kind of see that it's a little bit on the short side, but it is actually relatively similarly constructed. So what we do with these jaws is we flattened it out. And instead of flattening out these jaws, we're just going to put V grooves in there so that we can hold on to the corners of metal. But overall, they should be really similar looking, except instead of having the wrapped flats, they'll just be kind of more square bits with a V groove kind of cut into them, if that makes sense. So these are all bolt tongs. This set is a set of bolt tongs. This set is a set of bolt tongs. And then we also have this set of bolt tongs that we've been making. So they're all sort of similar. And I mean, even this has like a somewhat similar construction, and these are our scroll tongs that we had made on, or as our last set. So similar for function, but different jobs, if that makes sense. So yes, they will have 2 handles and 2 clamping surfaces, but they are all different, and they are all different. Okay. All right. So let's see. Is that somehow? I think I moved that in a weird way. I meant the curved part between the hinge and the end. Yes, they will definitely have the curved section. And the reason that they'll have that curve, or that is actually the feature of the tongs that is the definition. Man, I just moved it again. Stop moving the camera. Let's see if I can do this without shaking the camera. Okay. There we go. Yes, so the curved section, the curved nature of the tongs, this is what actually makes them bolt tongs, if that makes sense. And it's because that extra distance between the jaws of the tong and the rivet allows you to keep more of the material inside the jaws of your tongs. So like if the rivet was sitting here, you'd only be able to grab onto about this amount. With bolt tongs, you can kind of grab onto this much of the material. So I like it a lot, or I like bolt tongs a lot better. Okay, and we're starting to kind of straighten that out a bit. We've got a little bit ways to grow. So this is kind of, we're trying to make 2 pieces that are identical. So we've got a lot of meat that we can kind of squish that down. And then I think we actually have a little bit of meat that we can squish down on this end too. We might be able to get just a little bit closer to these jaws. But yeah, we have a little bit of ways to grow. because we want these two to be exactly the same, if that makes sense. That way they'll come together correctly. It is starting to get warm in here. Ray, do not move the camera. Bravo. I have vice grips with a bow like that I use to weld stuff together. Similar reasons, I guess. Yeah, I also have a set of vice grips like that. They're right here. I love these things. And they're adjustable so that I can actually have them touch, the two areas here touch. But these actually work very well for welding, because if you stick two pieces of steel together, you kind of have that little extra room in here that you can use to, or like when you put the collet of the welder in there. So it's just, you're getting the clamps, or in this case, the tongs, out of the way. You can kind of hold them a little bit better. They are fantastic. Yeah, they do. I know. Can reach over single or over angle iron. Very handy. Yes, I love them. I work a lot with angle iron in a lot of my pieces, my furniture pieces. I love using angle iron. A lot of times I'll actually fold over the angle iron and twist it. You get some really interesting shapes that way. But yeah, I still need a nice clamp so that I can clamp together the pieces of angle iron, and having it go over that edge is very convenient. It's fantastic, and it's like a fourth hand. Yeah, definitely. I also have I have a welding table that has these little edges that you can kind of slot up and tighten down, so then you can actually make a 90-degree corner by placing your material along the edge. And those vice grips are really nice there too, because they just stay out of the way of the work that I need to do. And it looks like our forge is starting to slow down a little bit. So I will probably have to change the propane tank here shortly. So I think I might actually do that now real fast, just so that I don't have to do it again. So yeah. We'll do that. And you know what? I'm going to regret this because, oh, wait. Hey, I made it convenient. I put the wrench underneath of the forge. That way I knew where it was. That is a smart thing to do, Ray. That's a very smart thing to do. Close that up. And make sure that it's big enough so that I can actually use it. So this is actually the first time that I have changed the tank since I changed the setup. See if I can do this. Man, I am glad that I put that forge really far away from the wall. It's radiating quite a lot of heat. That is the great part about having it facing a corner, because there's automatically a lot of space between the back end of the forge and the wall. And then I have this extra protection of this metal of the wall. Keeps it from setting things on fire. I'm pretty sure my insurance would be very, very upset with me if I set my garage on fire. There we go. And start this up again. You know what? How about we do this? There it goes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. There we go. I have welding tables with holes in there and many welding jigs. You have, 90, 70, 30, etc. They all have pins that slot into my table. Helps production immensely. That would be incredible. See, I got my welding table at Harbor Freight. So basically, it's just a steel top that has slots in it, and then it has like the little angle iron that comes up, and you can tighten it down for that 90. It doesn't have anything but the 90. I do have like sets of clamps that I can change the angles on though, and those are really also very convenient, especially if I'm cutting stuff. I really like to use them, you know. And then I can also change the angle on my chop saw, which is a little bit more difficult to do. All right, much better. Let's move this over here. That way it's out of the heat, but also out of the tripping space. Because I don't want to have to trip over it. I keep drinking this water like it's caffeine or, something. One of these days, instead of having water in there, I'm going to put like tea in there or something. Then I can have some like caffeine. Although I think that tea is also going to dehydrate me. That's why I haven't done it yet. Because I'm afraid that tea is going to dehydrate me too much. The whole point of drinking 32 ounces of water while I'm in the shop is that I, flush out my kidneys and make sure that I can sweat adequately so I don't get kidney stones. All right. Let's see. I'm going to do one more heat on the horn of the anvil, and then we're going to go back to the press. We're going to do a couple more heats and make sure that we can match the two tongs together. I wish I had a fabrication table, but every horizontal surface just collects junk. I couldn't use it anyway. I dream of a real welding table. I mean, I feel like everybody who welds dreams of a real welding table. There's some really amazing ones out there, and a lot of people have built some really fantastic ones. But I mean, the one that I have, that I bought at Harbor Freight, it functions pretty well. It is a horizontal surface that collects objects, but I mean, it's relative. I usually keep it easy enough to clean off when I actually have to weld something. So, I try my best. I move the stuff that's on the welding table onto the table or the desk that holds the chop saw. So, I mean, it's just kind of a shifting thing. When you need the chop saw table, it shifts back to the welding table. Fireball tool tables are amazing. I haven't heard of that brand. I don't doubt it though. There are a lot of really amazing welding supply stores and tool supply stores that have amazing welding tables. I got my welding table at the iron place, a flat piece of metal to which I weld 8 legs. I know overkill, but as my drill sergeant always told me, there is no such thing as overkill. There is no such thing as overkill. There is kill and miss. I drilled the holes myself and I got a lot cheaper that way. Yeah. Amazingly expensive too. I'm not worthy of Fireball tool anything. Yeah, I haven't actually heard of Fireball as a tool supply. I will have to look them up. Around here, there is the Snap-on tools, though. They drive around in their like tool van or box truck, and the tools that they have are ridiculously expensive. And I feel like I'm not worthy for Snap-on tools. They have a YouTube channel. It's pro-grade fabrication stuff. You keep out of the Snap-on vans. I do keep out of the Snap-on vans. I can't afford any of their tools. They are so expensive. Plus, I'm a blacksmith, which means I get to make my own tools, right? At least that's what I tell myself. Eventually, we will actually make a hammer. I really want to make a hammer. I've got this section of A7 that I had considered making a hammer out of, and then I also have a section over there that's a really big section of round. It's about yay big around, and that I'm not sure what type of tool steel is. I think it might be 47 something. So I really want to make a hammer, but I think I need to make a hammer drift before I make a hammer. So maybe we'll do a series of them. The only thing you can get there is their free flat bladed screwdriver. I mean, yeah. All right, let's go to the anvil cam and do one more heat on the anvil. OBS is starting to lag a little bit, so it's kind of weirding me out a little. I'm pretty sure it's just me, though. Whoops, there goes my magnet. Or at least just the magnet case. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit longer on that neck. Yeah. We are getting there. Definitely getting there. But we've got a little bit of extra meat back here. Got a couple more heats that we can do on the press, and we should be fine. I'm pretty happy with that. Hammer time. All right. So yeah, this is the, I don't know, the handle, I guess, for my mag. Anyway, I used to have this donut-shaped magnet that went on this guy, and all of the magnet pieces, it was in the shape of a donut, and this was in the center. Well, apparently it broke all off, so I think I need to get a new under the horn anvil magnet. Because I don't think I can keep this on there anymore. Whoops. Put that under there. I wish I had a smithing setup. Or not to put too fine of a point on it, but that is not meat, it is metal. You're right, it is metal and not meat. But I don't know why. I guess because my instructors always told me, you know, or called it meat, the extra width on a piece of metal. I kind of stole it off of my silversmithing instructor, really. So yeah. I know, that's what they say. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna move the camera over there, back over to the press so that you guys can see what's going on over there. But first, I need to stop the clip. And then we're gonna turn it off, the camera, so that I don't accidentally lose my clips. And then we're crossing the streams again. Alrighty. Turned on. There we go. Much mo better. Yay. Everything's all good now. Okay, so we're gonna do a couple more heats on the press, and then we're gonna come back to the anvil face and kind of flatten everything out. The goal is to have 2 of these guys at the same state so that we can start working again on Friday with 2 identical tong blanks. And then on Friday's stream, what we're going to do, and I hope I said Friday the first time. Anyway, for Friday's stream, 2 identical tong blanks. So then for Friday, we're going to squish out the area that the rivet goes, and we are going to drill out a rivet hole because I have not been doing so hot with drifting lately. Every time I seem to drift, I hammer my thumb instead. So I think I'm going to give it a break for this project, and we're going to drill them out. It's also going to save us a little bit of time. And then we're also going to make ourselves a rivet and rivet them together. So hopefully we will have them done by the end of Friday. That is the goal. I'm having trouble coming up with tong-related puns to use as stream titles. Make yourself the drift on a handle. I do need to do that. I definitely need to do that. But like I said, I need to make a hammer eye drift. So we'll make a hammer eye drift, and then we will make ourselves a punch on a stick. That way I don't have to worry about hitting my hand anymore. Okay. Vice grips. It's gonna be one of those things, you know? Couple projects down the line. Man, some days this press just decides that it doesn't want to cooperate. And today must be one of those days. Mahalo, yeah, that helps, but you do not hit the vice grips. That is sacrilege. It is sacrilege to hit your vice grips. You know what? Maybe if I do it this way, the opposite direction. There we go. That should stay. Maybe it won't. It stays better one direction than the other direction, and maybe I just didn't have it on in the correct direction. I don't know. Oh, goodness gracious. Like I said, today is one of those days. Okay. So if I'm looking at my script, I'm right on schedule as far as talking about things. So I don't really need too terribly many more shots of talking heads until Friday, when I have like half of my script I gotta talk about. You need baling wire to keep the wedge in place. I do. You're still getting work done. It is a good day. It is a good day. I am so getting work done. And I also get to talk to you guys while I'm getting my work done. That makes me so happy. And I mean, like I said, my day gets exponentially better when I stream for you guys. It's a lot of fun. Let's see. So, got a few things that I'm thinking about doing for the project wall. I'm hoping that this weekend I can actually get the paperclip back on the wall in the background. So I will be moving that from that side of the room to that side of the room. Maybe we can get the rest of that sign done too, but that might be a little bit, or like the light that I want to put up there. That might be a next weekend project. We'll see where I am after we finish shop. That takes quite a lot of effort, rearranging the shop, and also a lot of space in my garbage can. I've got a lot of just like random papers and junk in here that I just need to throw away. I cannot explain how many like used grinder discs and cutting discs I threw away on last weekend when we were rearranging the shop. So much garbage. Make some nails to hammer the paper clip in place. Yeah, we made that the J hook to kind of hang up the paper. We could do some nails too. I do need to make a nail header before we can make some nails. But I would like to do nails as a project. We kind of, I would do nails while I was talking to you guys. A continuous nail loop maybe for as long as I could go. Grinding discs are disposable. Make nails in one heat. Yes, I'd love to be able to do nails in one heat. If I can manage that. I think in order to make a continuous stream of nails, I need 2 pieces of steel. So while one is heating, I can work on one, and then I can just flip them. And then, yeah, I could make a lot more nails in that fashion. So if I'm, when I'm really going at it, I would love to be able to talk to you guys while I'm making nails. That is the goal anyway. I pushed my grinding disc too far. I also pushed my grinding disc too far. I have a tendency to wait for my grinding discs to like shred almost. Especially my cutting discs because I use the skinny cutting discs on my angle grinder, and instead of disposing of them when they're tiny, I'll wait for them to shred. I have seen a man end up with brown pants when his cutting disc exploded and a bit of the disc ended in his safety glasses. Oh yeah, I've seen that too. Pictures of people with like little pieces of angle grinder disc in their glasses. But I mean, that's why you have them, you know, to make sure that it doesn't end up in your eye and it just ends up in the plastic. I'm usually relatively careful, but sometimes I wait a little bit too long. All right, turn it 90 degrees and let's go again. Need to go that much further, so I'm really trying to be a little bit on the careful side as we go, because it would be very easy at this point to go too far and switch it in a place that we don't want to switch. So we're paying really close attention. Now we're going to come back over here, and I'm looking, and I'm almost there. We're getting real. I think we need to take a little bit of meat off of this, and that's where growth. Because it looks like if we take these and line them up there, that this side is longer than this one. But we're getting real close. Real close. One or two more heats on the press, and then we'll come back onto the anvil, the horn, and we'll straighten everything up. But yeah, I would have been scared myself. Yeah, I definitely would have been. I always get startled when I shred my grinder discs. It's worse when it is my chop saw disc. If you've ever used a chop saw with the giant grinder disc, or like the giant cutter discs, if you see those things shred, that is terrifying. I was in college, my sculpture professor shredded one. It was terrifying. There was like bits of cutter disc everywhere. It was scary. But I mean, it's like there's always going to be a little bit of tenuous risk involved in any sort of heavy machinery job that you have. You've got to kind of balance the danger and the potential for injury with, you know, getting work done. My partner tells me that priority is, you know, safety, or instead of safety first, it's safety third with me. It is always on my mind, but it is not always the first thing on my mind. So I really, like, if I know that I'm going to be doing something very dangerous, I do bring someone else in that can kind of be a little bit more level-headed when it comes to safety. Yeah, I have. I've seen a bandsaw blade snap even. Poo came out. Oh, yeah. Safety third or nothing happens. Yeah. But like I said, if I know that I'm doing something that's actually dangerous and that there is real potential for injury, that is less manageable than, you know, I would like it to be, I do bring someone out here to help me out, be a second set of eyes and, you know, a second set of keys. In case I injure myself to the point where I need to take a ride to the hospital. You never want to see that happen, but if it does happen, it's better to be prepared than unprepared. But yeah. Because, yeah, it's like if safety is first, you don't do anything. Because it's like you cannot 100% eliminate danger. You can only reduce the likelihood. And I mean, there's a relatively good chance that you're not going to injure myself or yourself or myself. But there's never a 0 chance that you won't injure yourself unless you just don't do it. So it's kind of weighing your choices. How much risk are you willing to take? All right. Let's do another heat. We're going to start doing them a little bit faster because as we get skinnier, we have less material that we need to move. And it heats a lot faster with less material to heat. We are going to focus on those thicker sections. Kind of trying to bring them in line with the rest of our material. And I'm losing my wedge again. And I've lost it. I have no idea why it keeps doing it to me. Some days it just does it, and some days it doesn't. We're getting a lot of bending happening. So you can see it kind of is shifting downward. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time over here, kind of trying to straighten it out a little bit. We're not really like squishing any material, but we are straightening material. Oh, come on. There we go. And this is why we're making this set of tongs, so I don't have to use these guys anymore. Eventually I'll repair them, but it was a good opportunity to make another set. Tongs are a great testing grounds for a new tool. All right, look at that. I'm actually pretty happy with that. So I think we're actually going to hang out here on the anvil face for a little bit. True this guy up a bit and we'll be done. So we're going to move the camera again. I know us farmers are weird enough, though I have driven myself to the hospital after I got gored by a goat. I ended up with 73 stitches and they wanted to keep me there. I just walked out, butchered the goat, and milked the others. I mean, there is only so much you can do, and I mean, it's kind of, you know, you've got a job to do, and you've got a job to do, you know? But it is always better to make sure that you have your, you know, proper checkups and everything to make sure that you're not gonna have to end up back in the hospital. All right. Back to the anvil. Move this back a little bit. All right. Let's see if I can't jump over this way so I don't end up moving the camera. Here we go. Much more better. Yeah, but when a goat gores you, they clean it out, stitch you up. What else can they do? Just ensure everything stays clean. I mean, yeah. A lot of times it's just they want you there to observe you, make sure that that it's all nice and clean and you haven't done any more damage that they didn't quite meant or see. But I mean, if you know that you're good, you know you're good, I guess. Okay. One more, or another heat. That looks like a pretty decent angle. So we're coming back over to the horn. To kind of straighten everything up. Got some weird bulges going on over here, so I think I'm gonna see about straightening that up a little bit too. All right, everything looks pretty straight. So let's compare the two. Oh, look at that. We look pretty similar. Pretty darn similar. Look at that. I like that. So we have 2 tong links. And we got a little bit of time left, I think. Maybe we don't. It is a lot later than I thought it was. We have been going for about 2.5 hours, and I have the amount of work that I had planned for today. So, let's see. I'd be scared of more staph infection. There's some superbugs going around in hospitals. Yeah, there definitely is a lot of superbugs going on right now because, people are, there's a lot of new resistances to some of the antibiotics that we have around. People are just not taking all of their antibiotics, and it's causing bugs to get stronger. You are amazingly energetic still. Yep. All right. So, like I said, I have reached the amount of work that I had planned for today. And we've reached about 2.5 hours. So I'm probably here about done. Maybe I'll do one more. We'll heat this back up and we'll do one more heat where we're just doing more of a finessing pass. There's a couple bumps that I can see on here. We'll do that. And then if there's anybody you guys would like to raid to, let me know. Aloha. Hey, Jack Frost. We're just about finished, so. Or they take them too often. They get prescribed too often. That's very true, Bluesy. A lot of people do get prescribed pills that they don't take, or they take more of them than they need to, and yeah, it's just there's a lot of stuff that happens that causes a lot of mutations in the bugs. So yeah, we've got about one more pass left. We're gonna try and finesse the neck of these tongs, and then on Friday we are going to make them, or we're going to squish the boss, drill the holes, make the rivet, and finesse them together. So I'm hoping that we get to finish on Friday. We shouldn't have too terribly much left to do. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's a lot of really small jobs. So, yeah. But yeah, if there's anybody you guys would like to raid to, let me know. This will probably be the last heat for the day. I've got a few things that I need to get done around the house, and I think I really need to rest a little bit. I'm a little bit worn down today. So that's what we're looking at for the day. Let's see, who do we got? We'll take a look real fast while we're waiting for the heat. Axel420 followed me about an hour ago. I probably missed you, but thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that greatly. Thank you, and have a nice day. Yeah, thank you. You guys have a nice day too. Like I said, I got one more heat left at me, and then we'll raid off. I have an idea of who I might want to raid off to. But if you guys have any opinions, let me know, because I like learning about new smiths, or, I like sending you to places you want to go. So one more heat. Let's actually change the camera so you can actually see the heat. One more heat. My propane's starting to freeze up again too, so. All right. Whoops. Maybe if I could, grab a hold of things properly, that would also work. All right. I'm liking that. A little bit straighter. We'll look down, see what we got. We got a little bit of twisting, but we'll correct that on Friday. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I've had so much fun. The day has gotten significantly better. So much better today. All right. So, I think we are going to raid Lone Mountain. He has been doing some Damascus, and it's been really, really neat. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you later. Maybe if it'll let me use the rating interface.